the forbidden rule across the galaxy. There were many laws written on stone, on data crystals, and on the minds of alien rulers. Some were about trade, some about peace, and some about war. But one law was different from all others. It was never written, never spoken loudly, and never recorded in any archive. It was only whispered in quiet halls, passed from one ruler to another like a shadow no one wanted to see. That law was simple: do not provoke humanity. No one remembered when this rule was first spoken. Some said it was thousands of years ago. Others claimed it was only a few centuries past. But every race in the galaxy, from the insect-like swarms of the Kurth to the cold machine empires of the Veyron, had heard the same words. Do not anger the humans. Do not wake them. Do not test them. To most young races, this rule sounded like a myth, a story told to frighten children. They asked, how could one small species be so dangerous? The humans did not rule the stars. They did not own empires stretching across hundreds of systems. They did not have fleets larger than the great powers. And yet, every race carried the memory of battles long ago, battles they tried hard to forget. But memories fade, generations pass, and arrogance grows. In the grand chamber of the Zaire Dominion, a new ruler sat upon his crystal throne. Emperor Kareth was proud, his armor shining with symbols of conquest. His people had crushed 2 empires in the last 50 years. They believed themselves to be unstoppable, and when he spoke of humanity, he laughed. These so-called humans are ghosts, he declared to his council. Where are their fleets now? Where is their empire? They hide on their little world, whispering in the dark. I will show the galaxy that this rule is nothing but fear spread by the weak. The council did not answer. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They had heard the stories too. Tales of human ships appearing without warning, striking with terrible weapons and vanishing into the black. Tales of planets burned and armadas broken. But no one dared to challenge the Emperor's pride. Far away on the edges of Zaire space, a patrol fleet drifted through the stars. Among the silence of the void, they caught sight of a small human vessel, old, simple, barely armed. It was a trading craft, no threat to anyone. The alien commander gave a simple order: seize it. The humans did not resist. Their ship was boarded, their weapons taken, and their crew captured. They were brought to the fortress world of Tyrannus, chained in the halls of the Dominion. The aliens mocked them, laughed at their silence, and spread the news across the stars. The first law of the galaxy has been broken. In the marketplaces, merchants whispered in fear. On distant colonies, governors tightened their defenses. The galaxy had seen this story before. They knew what came when humans were dishonored. But in the Dominion capital, the rulers laughed. The captured humans were placed before Emperor Kareth. He studied them like animals in a cage. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes and calm breath, met his gaze without fear. That calmness unsettled him. He expected anger or perhaps begging. But the humans were quiet, as if they knew something he did not. Do you know who I am? Kareth asked, his voice echoing through the chamber. The woman only answered, Do you know what you have done? Her voice was soft, but it struck the court like thunder. For the first time, silence filled the hall. The Emperor frowned, leaning forward, but the human did not look away. She spoke as though the throne, the soldiers, the weapons, all of it meant nothing. The guards dragged the humans away, locking them deep in the fortress. But whispers spread quickly. Soldiers who stood close to them said they felt cold, as if the air itself had changed when the woman spoke. Some swore they saw shadows move behind her eyes, as though she carried the weight of something older, something vast. That night, in the darkest corners of the galaxy, old warning signals began to light up. On forgotten satellites orbiting dead worlds, codes long unused suddenly activated. On derelict stations hidden in nebulae, silent beacons pulsed once more. The humans had been touched, and the humans had answered. The Dominion did not notice. They celebrated their victory, declaring the end of an old superstition. But beyond their borders, others watched with dread. The Kurth swarms hid their fleets. The Veyron machines shifted their data paths. The Council of Stars sent urgent messages through secret channels. They all said the same thing. The first law has been broken. And far away in the blackest part of space, a fleet that had not moved for centuries stirred awake. Its ships were silent and dark, built with a design older than the galaxy's current empires. Their hulls were black as night, their engines cold as stone, yet they began to burn again. Thousands of ships, forgotten by time, turned their bows toward the Dominion. The humans had remained quiet for a long time. Too long. But now the silence was ending, and the galaxy would soon remember why the oldest rule was never to provoke humanity. The spark of conflict on the fortress world of Tyrannus. The captured humans sat in silence. They were not beaten, not broken, and not afraid. Their calmness unsettled the guards. Aliens who had fought wars across the stars, who had faced monsters and machines, felt unease around these few humans. They were chained, unarmed, and outnumbered, and yet their silence felt heavier than any weapon. Whispers began to flow through the Dominion capital. Soldiers asked why the humans did not beg. Citizens asked why their eyes seemed so cold. Even the high lords of the Dominion, who prided themselves on strength, found themselves avoiding the humans' gaze. It was as if the prisoners carried a secret that no one else could see. Emperor Kareth dismissed these feelings. "They are weak," he told his court. "They hide behind old stories. But we rule the stars now. The first law is broken and nothing has come. The galaxy will see our power, not theirs." His words were strong, but his voice carried a crack of doubt. Far away across hidden corners of the galaxy, the silence of humanity began to shift. Old watchers stirred. Forgotten systems came alive. There were satellites placed long ago waiting for a signal. There were fleets built in secret, resting in the void, waiting for a reason to move. And now, that reason had come. The first sign appeared in the border systems of the Dominion. A patrol ship drifted too close to the blackness of an empty sector. The crew detected nothing at first. The space was silent, no stars nearby, only the endless void. Then their sensors screamed. A massive shape appeared where nothing should exist. A warship, black as night, larger than anything the Dominion had ever built. It moved without sound, without heat, without warning. Before the patrol ship could react, it was gone. No debris, no signal. Just silence. The news reached the Dominion, but Emperor Kareth dismissed it as failure. A malfunction, a lie. "Do not let fear grow," he ordered. But fear was already spreading. Meanwhile, in the prison cells of Tyrannus, the human prisoners remained calm. One of the guards, a young officer, dared to ask one of them, "Why do you not fight? Why do you not scream?" The human answered with a voice steady and cold, "Because we are not the ones who should be afraid." The guard said nothing more. That night he deserted his post. The galaxy watched carefully. Old empires, once rivals of humanity, gathered their leaders in secret councils. "The Dominion has broken the first law," they said. "The humans will return." Some prepared to hide. Others prepared to bow. None thought the Dominion could survive what was coming. Back in the Dominion capital, celebrations continued. The Emperor announced a parade. The humans were paraded through the streets as trophies. Crowds gathered, but instead of cheering, they grew silent as the humans walked past. Their eyes, cold and sharp, unsettled even the proud citizens. No chains could erase the sense that they were not prisoners at all, but judges. Judges waiting for the sentence to fall. On the 10th day of their capture, the skies above Tyrannus darkened. It was not storm or shadow. It was a fleet. Silent black ships appeared without warning. No engines detected, no signals broadcast. They simply emerged as if the void itself had given birth to them. The defense systems of Tyrannus lit up. Alarms blared. Fleets scrambled into the sky. But it was already too late. The first human fleet had arrived. Their weapons did not flash like Dominion cannons. They were silent, precise, and merciless. Whole Dominion squadrons disappeared in seconds. Ships turned to ash without even knowing what struck them. Towers crumbled, defense shields cracked, and the skies burned with lightless fire. Panic spread across the planet. Citizens screamed, soldiers fled, and the Emperor's voice echoed with desperation as he called for resistance. Inside their cells, the humans smiled for the first time. The guards rushed in, terrified. "What are they?" one shouted. "What are those ships?" The human woman, the same one who had spoken to the Emperor, looked up calmly. "They are ours," she said, "and they are only the beginning." The fortress shook as explosions tore through the city above. Dominion fleets across the stars reported the same. Human ships, long hidden, long silent, were moving as one. Worlds that thought themselves safe found their skies filled with black warships. And every alien race that remembered the old wars whispered the same truth. Humanity had awakened. The Dominion tried to send messages for help. They begged their allies, demanded their vassals to fight, but no one answered. No empire was foolish enough to stand against humanity once more. Instead, the galaxy watched in silence, knowing that one empire had made the greatest mistake of all. The humans did not fight for conquest. They did not seek new worlds. They fought only for respect. And when respect was denied, they answered with fire. As the Black Fleet spread across the stars, one question echoed in every corner of the galaxy. How far would humanity go this time? Would they stop at punishing the Dominion, or would their wrath consume all who had forgotten the first law? On Tyrannus, Emperor Kareth stood on the steps of his throne room, staring at the burning skies. For the first time, fear filled his heart. He had thought the humans were myths. He had thought their silence meant weakness. Now he understood the truth too late. The first law had not been a myth. It had been a warning carved into the history of the galaxy itself. And now, the warning had become reality. Humanity responds. The Dominion believed they had seen the worst when the skies of Tyrannus burned, but that was only the first strike. Across their empire, messages of panic raced faster than light. Border worlds reported fleets vanishing. Colonies screamed for aid and then went silent. Command stations blinked off the map one by one. And all of it happened in silence, without warning, without mercy. In the Dominion capital, Emperor Kareth stood before his generals. Maps filled the chamber, glowing with marks of lost systems. Red symbols spread like fire across the stars. Every hour, another world was cut off. Every hour, more fleets disappeared. How can they strike so fast? One general demanded. Our sensors show nothing until it is too late. Our weapons do not even touch them. Another slammed his fist on the table. These humans hide in shadows like phantoms. We must strike at their homeworld. Destroy them at the source. But the room fell silent at those words. The humans' homeworld was Earth, and even the boldest generals dared not speak of it. Old memories ran too deep. Ancient records told of fleets that had tried before. Fleets that never returned. Kareth growled. We are the Dominion. We will not bow to phantoms. Prepare a full counterattack. Gather every fleet. We will crush them. But deep inside, even he felt the creeping truth. He had unleashed something he could not control. Meanwhile, in the fortress of Tyrannus, the human prisoners were no longer treated as captives. The guards avoided their cells, trembling each time the ground shook from another bombardment. The calm human woman who had stared into the Emperor's eyes without fear finally spoke again to her companions. They thought we were weak, she said softly. They thought silence meant surrender. But silence was only patience, and now patience has ended. Her words carried weight, as if she was not speaking to her fellow prisoners alone, but to the galaxy itself. Outside, the human fleet revealed its true form. It was not just a single armada. It was many. Fleets hidden in asteroid fields, fleets buried beneath oceans, fleets stationed in forgotten systems where no alien dared travel. They had been waiting, watching, and preparing for centuries. Every insult, every whisper of arrogance, every act of mockery had been remembered. Humanity did not forget. The Dominion launched its counterattack. Hundreds of ships moved together in formation, their weapons burning with power. They struck at a human fleet in the Jorak system. For the first time, the galaxy held its breath, wondering if the humans could be stopped. The battle lasted less than an hour. Dominion ships fired in every direction, their weapons lighting the void. But the human fleet did not fight like any other. They moved in silence, their ships gliding like predators through water. Every Dominion cruiser destroyed was erased in a single shot, leaving no escape pods, no signal, no survivors. By the end, the void was quiet again. Only black ships remained, drifting calmly among the wreckage. The news spread instantly. The galaxy trembled. The humans had not returned to bargain. They had not come to demand tribute or territory. They had come only to remind the stars of the law carved into their history. Do not provoke humanity. Across the galaxy, other races watched with growing fear. The insectoid Kurth evacuated their outer colonies. The Varen machine empire shut down its border stations, calculating the probability of destruction if they crossed the humans. Even the proud Zoltan Republic, long enemies of humanity, sent secret envoys whispering words of peace. But the Dominion did not bend. Emperor Kareth stood on his throne, roaring to the stars. We will not surrender. Let them come. We will show the galaxy that even humans can bleed. Yet even as he spoke, his words were betrayed by trembling hands. The cracks were showing. His empire was breaking apart. Vassals refused his calls. Allies abandoned him. Whole fleets deserted rather than face humanity's wrath. The galaxy knew the truth. The Dominion was not fighting humans alone. They were fighting history itself. Every scar left by past wars, every whisper of forgotten battles, every shadow of ancient fleets. Those memories had returned in steel and fire, and the humans were not slowing down. On the prison world of Tyrannus, the humans were finally released. Not by choice, but by chaos. As Dominion forces collapsed, doors were left unguarded. Alarms blared, walls crumbled, and the humans stepped out into the burning sky. One guard, trembling, fell to his knees before the calm woman. "Spare us," he begged. "We did not know." The woman looked down at him, her eyes cold as the void. "You should have remembered. The galaxy warned you." She walked past him without another word, her people following into the smoke. Above them, human warships blotted out the sun. And as the Dominion's capital burned, the galaxy began to whisper again. The first law was not just a superstition. It was not fear spread by the weak. It was the oldest truth written in blood and fire. Never provoke humanity. But whispers carried another fear now. If humanity had waited in silence for this long, if they had hidden their power so carefully, then perhaps their patience was not finished. Perhaps this was only the beginning. And if it was the beginning, no one in the galaxy knew how far the humans would go this time. The wrath of humans. The war no longer felt like a war. It felt like a judgment. Across the Dominion, whole star systems went dark. Fleets that once filled the skies were erased in silence. Defense stations that had stood for centuries were reduced to dust in a single strike. Even the proudest worlds of the Dominion, those that had never known defeat, now sent desperate signals into the void. But the humans never answered. They only advanced. The black fleets moved like shadows through the stars. They did not boast, they did not taunt, and they did not explain. They simply struck, and every strike was final. Alien historians who watched from afar described it with trembling voices. The humans do not fight for land. They do not fight for glory. They fight to remind the galaxy of fear. On the world of Dravos, billions watched as human ships appeared above their skies. The Dominion governor shouted promises of defense, calling on every ship to rise. Yet when the humans fired, their weapons did not roar with fire or thunder. They burned with silence. Entire cities crumbled into ash without a sound. Dominion warships fell apart as if invisible hands tore them apart. Survivors who lived to tell the story spoke of fear worse than death, the fear of facing an enemy that showed no emotion at all. The galaxy began to whisper again, but this time the whispers grew into prayers. Some prayed for mercy, others prayed that the humans would finish quickly. Every race remembered the old stories, but none had imagined the stories were only fragments of the truth. Meanwhile, in the Dominion capital, Emperor Kareth tried to hold his throne together. His generals fled. His vassals declared independence. Some of his closest advisors vanished in the night, choosing exile over death. And yet Kareth roared his pride even as his empire burned around him. "We will rebuild. We will not kneel to these ghosts," he shouted. But even he knew the truth. The humans were not ghosts. They were fire wrapped in flesh, patience wrapped in silence. And once provoked, they did not stop until their enemies were broken completely. Among the human fleets, no joy was felt. No celebration of victory. Their commanders gave orders with calm voices. Their soldiers moved with cold precision. It was not hatred that guided them, nor greed. It was memory. Memory of every time the galaxy had mocked them, pushed them aside, called them weak. Humanity had been patient, but patience had limits. The Dominion learned this lesson the hardest way. On the 10th week of the war, the humans reached the Dominion throne world. Tyrannus was already burning, but the final strike had not yet come. The Emperor gathered what little fleet remained, lining his skies with desperate ships. He stood on his balcony as the horizon glowed red with fire. His people screamed in the streets, the towers of his capital cracked, and still he told himself he could resist. Then the black ships came. Thousands of them. They appeared without sound, filling the skies like a storm of shadows. Their weapons glowed faintly like stars about to die. The Dominion fired everything it had. Cannons, missiles, energy beams all lit the skies in blinding light. But the humans moved through it without pause. Their ships cut through the storm like blades through smoke. One by one, Dominion ships went dark. One by one, the skies emptied of defenders. The Emperor fell to his knees, watching as his empire dissolved before his eyes. On the ground, the human prisoners were freed by the bombardment. The calm woman, the one who had spoken to the Emperor, stood among the ruins. She looked at the broken palace, at the fleeing soldiers, at the burning streets, and she spoke to no one and everyone at once. "This is not war," she whispered. "This is the price of arrogance." The galaxy heard those words. Not through transmissions, not through recordings, but through survivors who carried the story like fire in their hearts. Everywhere the humans struck, the same truth spread. Humanity does not fight for power. Humanity fights for respect. And when that respect is denied, their wrath is without end. By the 12th week, the Dominion ceased to exist. Its banners were torn down, its fleets erased, its rulers dead or in hiding. Entire worlds surrendered without a shot, begging for mercy that never came. Humanity did not occupy these worlds. They left them broken, empty, and afraid. The galaxy now faced a question darker than any before. Would the humans stop here, or would they remember every slight, every insult, and keep burning until nothing but silence remained? In the Council of Stars, the leaders of other empires met in secret. Some argued for peace. Some argued for surrender before the humans even looked their way. Others argued to prepare for war. But no matter what they said, every one of them spoke with fear. Because they all knew the truth now. The first law was not superstition. It was survival, and the humans had proven that survival depended on remembering it. But whispers began to grow in hidden places. Some wondered if humanity had changed. Some wondered if silence would ever return. And some wondered what humanity's true goal was. Because no one could believe a species so patient had awakened only for vengeance. Perhaps there was something more. Perhaps the wrath of humans was only the beginning. The lesson remembered: the Dominion was gone. What had once been one of the most feared empires in the galaxy now existed only as ash and silence. Its fleets had been erased, its rulers were dead, and its worlds lay in ruins. For the first time in living memory, an empire had been destroyed not by rivals, not by rebellion, but by humanity. And humanity did not remain to claim the prize. As quickly as they had appeared, the black fleets began to vanish into the void. One by one, the warships retreated without explanation. They did not take slaves, they did not conquer worlds, they did not demand tribute. They left behind shattered fleets, broken cities, and memories that would never fade. It was as if they had only come to deliver a reminder. And now that reminder was burned into the minds of every living being. The galaxy trembled in the silence that followed. On distant worlds, alien children were told the stories again. Elders whispered to their councils. Rulers tightened their defenses, and merchants spread tales of horror. But no one dared to call the humans weak again. Across the stars, every empire repeated the same words. The first law must never be broken. The Kurth swarms, who once hungered to expand, halted their fleets. The Varen machines recalculated their plans, deciding that provoking humans carried a cost beyond any gain. Even the proud Zoltan Republic, enemies of humanity for centuries, sent hidden envoys with messages of peace. The galaxy was no longer divided by politics or greed. It was united by fear. On the ruined throne world of Tyrannus, silence stretched across empty streets. Among the rubble of the palace, one figure remained. The calm human woman who had once been a prisoner stood looking over the broken city. Her chains were gone, her eyes were sharp, and her voice was steady. "Now they remember," she said softly. The words carried through the survivors, who would repeat them again and again. Soldiers who had once mocked her now bowed their heads. Civilians who had once cheered the Emperor now wept in silence. Everyone who heard her voice knew the truth. The galaxy had been reminded, and the reminder would last for generations, but with the fear came questions. Why had the humans stopped? Why had they not taken the Dominion's worlds as their own? Why had they unleashed such wrath only to vanish again? Some believed the humans had no desire to rule. Others whispered that this war had been only a warning, a glimpse of power kept hidden for centuries. A few dared to suggest something darker, that humanity had not unleashed its full strength at all, that what the galaxy had seen was only a fraction of what lay waiting in the shadows. On the quiet edge of space, where no star shone and no empire dared travel, the black fleets gathered again. They did not speak, they did not broadcast, they did not reveal their numbers. They simply disappeared into the dark, as if swallowed by the void itself. Historians would later write that this war was not a war at all. It was a message A message carved into the bones of the Dominion and burned into the stars. And the message was clear. Humanity does not seek conquest, but humanity must never be provoked. Generations later, children of alien worlds would ask their elders about the humans. And the answer would always be the same. They are the fire that waits in silence. They are the storm that comes without warning. They are the law older than any empire. And if we forget, they will remind us again. And so the first law, once thought to be myth, became the foundation of galactic truth. No ruler dared question it. No empire dared test it. The law was simple and it was final. Do not provoke humanity. The galaxy had learned the lesson once more. And this time, they prayed it would never be forgotten again. But in the farthest reaches of the void, where the Black Fleet slept, humanity waited. Silent. Patient. Watching. And the stars knew that silence could last centuries, but it would not last forever.